Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and Courtney, how are you?
I'm okay. I've been sickly today. Think I have a sinus infection and I've had a tummy ache. So I just ate some soup and I have a full bottle of water.
Good.
So I will also probably have hot cocoa on our second recording because it's just one of those days. But I wanted to tell you about a new show that is only new to me and not the rest of the world, that I started watching because there's so many parallels, I feel like, with Stargate. Um, I have been back to my Marvel rewatch. Let me start there. I have not posted on Twitter because I haven't. So no one knows I'm watching it, but it's okay. And so I got to the MCU phase two, and I am at Agents of Shield or Agent
Yeah,
Shield or
yeah,
I don't even know
Agents
what
of
it's
Shield.
called.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
you're correct.
I'm like 18 episodes in. I was like, I don't know what it's called. But it's first of all, really good. I heard a lot of mixed
Mm-hmm.
reviews when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I'm, 10 years late watching it anyways.
Of
But
course.
I'm really enjoying it. But there's so many Asgardian references.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like soon in Stargate, Philip Coulson's gonna show up and be like, here's my besties, Thor and Jack. Like, dynamic trio. Terrible trio. I don't know, I need a T word. But so I can make alliteration. But I am just thriving. I am loving every minute of it. I finally finished Loki again, as Guardians. Um, and I boy, and so I told you I saw Hades Town, and then I was
Yeah.
researching more on Hades Town, and now all I want to talk about is mythology for the rest of my life. And so it's been a nice time for me with my TVs and my myths and whatnot. Um,
I
but
actually, speaking of mythology, I actually was doing a mini lesson with my students on comparing and contrasting. And because I am a sadist, I decided the topic for said comparing and contrasting was going to be the different theories on why myths exist. So it wasn't even
ooh,
this, we weren't even studying the myths themselves. We were studying the like sociological reasons
creation.
why myths exist. And they were not as into it as I was.
Well,
And
send me your notes. I will
okay.
be as into it. I started a new podcast called Let's Talk About Myths, Baby. And I have just been, I'm telling you, I am all in on the myths. So I'm ready for your presentation. Please make me a PowerPoint.
Yeah, I will. It was actually a video that I was using that it had
Even
like
better.
I there's this platform called Nearpod where you can play YouTube videos but insert questions into the videos. So like the video will pause and the
Ooh.
kids have to answer a question in the middle of the video. It's great. I love it. AI is the best thing that ever happened to the world sometimes. Um,
And the worst. But yes,
and the worst,
continue.
100%. Um, but I can send you, you don't need the like questions on making sure you're comprehending the videos, so I'll just send you the videos.
I'll just send you the answers. I don't need the
Yeah.
questions. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. How are you otherwise? How's your life?
Well, as you guys can probably tell by the intense nasal quality of my voice right now, I am also sick. I had my first ever case of food poisoning.
How was your first time? I'm so
It
sorry.
was, and it was very mild. There was no vomiting, which was nice because I don't
That
do
is
well with
nice.
that. Um,
Hmm.
But it was a very interesting day on Sunday because Dan and I both had food poisoning. Um, and
That ain't no
my,
good.
rather than a fever, my body often reacts by the opposite. Like I'm like a lizard. I cannot
Mm,
control my body temperature. And
interesting.
it got so hot that Dan went and laid on the couch. He was like, I cannot sleep here. I went and laid on the couch, which was fine, except for that I was apparently relying on his body heat to regulate my body temperature because when I woke up, my temperature was down to 96 degrees.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So we were both actively dying. Um, and then finally at like 1 o'clock, Doug emerged because
Emerged.
Saturday night, Doug, for the first time in 33 years of life, got actually drunk.
Good for him.
It was not. It was not a good time. It was a very, very, very bad time for him. And so all three of us were just complete wastes of space on Sunday. We were all just existing. Um, yeah, and that was my only recovery day because I am back to teaching on Saturdays as well. So Sunday was supposed to be my like recovery day, and instead I spent it
Hmm.
with food poisoning. So I'm doing so well. I'm doing so well, in fact, that Courtney and I are actually recording a day late because yesterday I left my computer charger at work.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah,
I watched more Agent Shield, so it worked out for everyone.
it's true. I watched RuPaul's Drag Race. It was a good time. I needed that more than I needed this in that moment.
No, heard,
Yeah.
heard.
But so we're both just like getting there. I feel like every
We're
week
making it,
I'm
kind of.
determined to not sound like I hate existing on the podcast, but I kind of do.
You know, it's okay. I'm in a lot of transition periods right now.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just one of those things where this is who we are right now.
Mm,
And we'll try not to be this way forever.
yeah.
No promises.
No promises. I mean, I think something about thinking that I was going to manage to work two jobs, go back to school, which
Mhm.
includes having to do basically a third other job of with my observation hours and do the podcast and plan a wedding. I thought, yeah, I can do all of that at once. And I haven't
Mhm.
stopped being sick since it started. And I
Yeah.
am convinced that that's just my body's way of trying to get me to give up. But I'm so fucking stubborn that I haven't yet.
Well, that's been me too for the past like 6 months, not the wedding and school and whatnot, but sick because I'm doing too much. That part's also
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So
But since we are actively trying to fight our immune systems, um, how can we be spiritually guided into the next phase of our dreadful existence?
let me tell you, no matter what happens, you must know how everything that is currently happening is happening for a reason. Everything is meant to mold you into a better person. Everything is meant to work out. R.M. Drake, my favorite human on the planet, who just appears to be like this person who writes poetry and
That
quotes.
says
So,
that tells us to stop to giving up on life.
mhm.
Yeah,
Our bodies are telling us to give up on life, but don't worry, R.M. Drake is telling us not to. So, here we
yes,
are showing up.
great. Um, we are going to show up and tell you about this interesting episode of Stargate SG-1. But before we really get into it, I have to ask, did you feel the intense Civil War allegory that happened for this entire fucking episode? Because
So,
I
here's
was appalled.
So here's the thing. I wrote, let me, spoiler alert, I wrote down one note, but I have a lot of thoughts. So
Yeah,
don't worry. I just didn't write them down. Um, I never connect things to war or history.
right.
Even when
Even
they're like a direct connection, it is not where my brain goes because that is not what I have in my brain ever at any time of my life. Like, unless it happened like on September 11th, 2001.
right.
I do not connect it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, but I do see the
Sure.
connections now that you say it.
Yeah, the number of times that I had to pause it because I just looked at Dan and was like, they weren't even trying to make it subtle. Like this is this is great. Um, yeah. And I had just been listening to a podcast about an episode of Doctor Who in season 8 where people were trying to say that the conversation in the episode was an allegory for like the pro-life, pro-choice debate. And the writer of the episode was like, I see why you think that, and I get it, but no. This one, I think if the author told me that, I would tell them they lied to my face because that is just really, really in your face.
Well, I will say that's how it feels in Hadestown when they sing Why Do We Build the Wall or whatever. It
Uh-huh.
feels like a direct correlation. It was written in 2006. That song was written in 2006. There's
Yes, I
no
know.
connection to Holodeck. I
Yeah,
had no idea. I had no idea. And so, sometimes things just happen.
I know.
However, this was after the Civil War, so that probably
Correct.
isn't
And
quite the same.
interestingly, there is um no um no information anywhere that I can find about like any comment on it. Um, so there's that. But let's get into the episode before we go too far off. This episode is Stargate season 5, episode 7, Beast of Burden, which
Which
was
feels very allegorical to the Bible.
right. Um, yeah. It was rated 7.3 stars, and it came out on August 10th, 2001. We had the same number one song and book from last week, but this week we have a new number one movie, no longer Rush Hour 2. Instead, it is American Pie 2. So 2001 must have been the summer of sequels because I'm pretty sure this is the third something 2 that has been the number one
Probably.
movie this summer. So,
Probably.
on this
I think this is the
day,
first one I saw, though.
this is definitely the first one I saw, but even then I was still too young to have seen it.
I didn't watch it when it came out, but
Me
I think it was the
either.
first one I watched. Oh yeah, it was. I was
No.
probably also still too young to see it when I did watch it, but I don't
Yeah.
remember when I watched it. But I
No,
do think it's the first one I saw.
I didn't see it until 2003. Um,
Oh no, even after that, I
yeah,
was
no.
I was well into high school. I think before I saw
No, I
American
was
Pie.
11. I was 11. It was not the correct choice.
No, no, it's not.
No, I didn't choose to watch it. The boy I liked was like, let's watch this movie. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, this
It was
feels
the
wrong.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah. But on this day, the Space Shuttle Discovery was launched. Um, there was also a train attack in the country of Angola that killed 252 people. So, like, not great. But then my favorite fact about this day, because it is actually a fictional fact, but it's my favorite thing, is that in the movie Spider-Man Homecoming, Peter Parker's birth certificate or his passport has his birth date as August 10th, 2001. So this is the day that Tom Holland Spider-Man was born.
A child. Baby
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, the fact that I mean, to be fair, Spider-Man is a baby. Like Spider-Man is a child compared to all the
Sure.
other like
Sure.
Avengers and everything. And even in the comic books, Peter Parker like gets bit in high school. It
Yeah.
he is a baby.
But we saw our first Spider-Man like in 2002. So for him to be born in 2001
Right. Yeah.
feels very strange. Or at least that was my first. I mean, the Tobey Maguire was
Yeah.
my first.
Oh, I mean, the Tobey
So
Maguire Spider-Man was the first real Spider-Man movie.
maybe that was 2000. 2002, I think, was the sequel. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but around
It
that time.
doesn't. Um, it was. Why won't you tell me what? I don't care about the character. I care about the Oh no, 2002. It was 2002. You were right.
Okay.
The first. Um, this episode was directed by Martin Wood, written by Peter DeLuise, and edited by Brad Rines, so nothing new there, despite the fact that it feels very different than the last couple episodes. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
the guest star of this show is a man named Larry Drake. He played Barack. He is known for Darkman, LA Law, and The Karate Kid. He did actually win 2 Emmys for his role in LA Law, back to back.
Nice. Good for
And,
him.
he originally studied to be a teacher and then decided not to and be an actor. And unfortunately, he did pass away in 2016 at age 66 of blood cancer. Um, I am struggling a little bit talking about cancer today, because today, you guys will not be seeing this till next week, but today is the day Toby Keith passed away.
Yeah.
And
Well, my
yes,
partner's, my coworker's partner just passed away from cancer.
yeah, and yesterday, King Charles' cancer diagnosis was announced as
Mhm.
well. I mean, and cancer sucks all the time, but like
Yeah. It's just running
today's
rampant.
a rough
It's
day for
running
that.
rampant right now.
So yeah. But we start this episode on a planet with a close-up of a ration bar. And we see an Unis. Well, we know it's Chaka because he's very distinct. But so
Who
Chaka comes
else
out
would
of
it
the
be?
right. Well, sometimes they lie to you and characters don't come back.
Oh, that's
Um,
true. They are
but
liars
I but
sometimes.
I did tell you that a guest
Oh,
character who was
right.
not a recurring character. I said a guest character who was not a recurring character was going to be the
Right.
focus of this episode. So I did tell
Yeah.
you
And
it.
all 17 of my guesses were wrong.
Correct. But so Chaka comes out of the woods to grab the bar. And then we see that there's also a camera on him. But we feel someone watching him and he kind of gets nervous. And then a bunch of humans with Jaffa weapons appear and approach Chaka and zap him. We find out that the camera is linked to the SGC, and Daniel has watched all of this and is now very upset. And then we get the credits. Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I am not bored. I am just sick.
Yeah.
That's why I'm yawning.
Daniel fills, after the credits, Daniel fills the rest of the team in on what has been going on the Unis planet. They have been like observing and taking all this data and all of the stuff. That's where the cameras are there. And every time Daniel goes to collect anything, he leaves an energy bar for Chaka
Can
because
we
of
just
course
talk
he
about how
does.
cute that is?
Yeah.
Like, that is the most
Mhm.
adorable friendship. Like, I have talked so bad about Daniel and all these relationships he's built and all these places, but this one is so cute and
I know.
so normal and not hindrance to anyone.
Which is
I mean,
weird because it's the
but
only one that is not with a human.
right. And it's the only one who tried to kill him first.
Right.
So, I don't think, at least I don't think anyone else has tried to kill him first. Sometimes after, but not first
Yeah,
usually.
no, usually the immediate reaction is to try to get him to sleep with them and then to kill him when he
Right.
doesn't want to.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but the people who have kidnapped Chaka, the clothing and weapons seem contradictory because they are dressed like Amish people in the Wild West, but they have Jaffa weapons.
Yeah. So something is amiss.
Yeah, so Daniel's like, well, we want to find out who they are and what they want with the Unas. And like, no one else seems to be concerned. They're like, that's unfortunate. It is. Like, we're not saying it's a good thing, but like, what do you want us to do about it? Um,
Okay, but it's Daniel's bestie.
right. But I
So
mean, on the one hand, like, if the point of the Stargate is to create exploration and understanding, um, just going in and stopping everyone that they think is wrong is kind of, what everyone hates about the US military interventionism to begin with.
mhm.
Um, So there's that. So everyone's kind of like, "No, we get it. It's really upsetting. Um, I don't know what to do you want me to do about it." Um, and so Daniel just like keeps um can like talking about it, and he confesses that he feels like he feels responsible for it because the energy bar that he put out was the bait that they used.
Yeah.
Um, and they do in fact have the location that the people went to because the video shows the DHD.
Hmm.
Um, and Jack brings up the point that like if they are not Goa'uld, but they have Goa'uld weapons, who knows what other technology they have? Probably at least worth investigating, even if they don't rescue Chaka.
Yeah. And
So
like you do
Hammond,
want to like that is part of the like exploration and like you want to learn about everyone. So even if it's someone that you're maybe a little mad at right now, you still need to learn about them. And especially if they have
right,
gold technology, you need to make sure they're not a threat to you.
right, exactly. So they go to the planet, and the UAV has shown that there's like a farming community up ahead, and they find these people there, and it turns out that they have been quote unquote domesticating the Eunice. That in and of itself is already
I did
like,
feel very icky, even though I didn't make the
yeah,
actual connection. I did
right.
feel icky during this.
Yeah, that in and of itself is already kind of like a direct like shout out
Hmm.
to the slavery situation.
Yeah.
And the whole like thinking that people are lesser or other than you.
Hmm.
And Daniel is like, okay, Jack's like, what are we gonna do when we walk up in there and tell these people, like, what is your plan? And Daniel's like, let's just be honest. And Jack's like, that's probably not a good idea. And Daniel's like, well, let's give it a go. So they get there, and in town, they're holding an Unis auction, and they use terms like unruly and violent, and the ick meter just continues to go up and up.
Hmm.
And then one of the Unis gets like a little too unruly for them, and they just shoot it.
Yep.
And
So
so
that's that.
Daniel and Jack get reasonably testy, and
Hmm.
they're like, "We came here um, through the Stargate," and they're like, "The who?"
Right.
They're like the Choppa Eye, and they're like, "Oh, no one has ever actually come through there." And so then Daniel's like, "We're here to trade for Unas," and Barack is like, "Well, you've come to the right place because I am the best Unas trader in the whole world. Um, why don't you come and have a drink with me?" And Jack's like, "What happened to being honest?"
But like, Jack, here's the thing. Once you're honest, there's nowhere to go back from.
Right.
And like, I'm not saying lie all the time. That's not my recommendation. But in this type of situation where it's just a bad situation, sometimes it's easier to go with a white lie
Yeah.
that you think is going to be more effective. And then if it's not, you can still fall back on the truth. Like
Yeah.
you have steps after that. But once you just like go in with the truth, once they don't agree to that, there's nothing else you can say.
Yeah.
So you gotta have options.
And while they're getting a drink, um, they ask about this community, and we find out that at one point the Unas ruled this planet as Goa'uld servants, whether they were Jaffa or just like serving the Goa'uld. We're not 100% sure. But they were in charge and they were serving a Goa'uld god, and the Goa'uld went away, disappeared. We don't know how long ago this was. We don't know who the Goa'uld was. If a different ruler, like a different system lord, killed them, if the Stargate people killed them, we don't really know. But they went away.
Yes.
And the people, the humans who were slaves at the time, like learned how to use the Jaffa weapons and started an uprising. And now the slaves are the masters, and the masters are the slaves.
So we're doing great. We're doing great.
Yeah. And he's like, the only code I know, like he tells them that the only code he knows on the DHD is the code for the Unis planet. And he's only been there once, but he's always been convinced that the Chappa Eye like goes other places, and sometimes he just stands there and stares at it, hoping he can figure it out. Um,
Also, though, talking about masters changing around and whatnot,
yeah.
in a different kind of a key way, it also kind of feels just like nature. Because, like, if you think before we came and took over all of the lands, the animals were the ones that, like, lived and whatever. And then we, like, captured them and turned them into zoo animals and such. So we took the
Yes.
king of the jungle and put him in a cage. So,
Um, yes. There are lots of different arguments that could be made.
oh, I think yours is right, to be clear. I
No,
just
no, no, no.
go the less
I'm
icky
saying,
route.
right. No, I'm
Like,
saying so like there's the whole if you take the biblical interpretation of things and you talk about God placing Adam and Eve in charge of the animals, then we
mm,
were always in charge of them, and it was just about how we
oh,
cared
sure.
for them. And then there's the idea that at least in modern times, most zoos are actually helpful because they're protecting species from extinction. So that's why I was
Correct.
like, yes, and also no.
Well, I mean, kind of before this more recent revolution came around, where people were
Right.
like, oh,
But
we're
I
going to
think,
treat animals correctly now and protect them because they've been through a lot. Traveling
right. I think,
circuses treated them
oh,
unwell.
no, I'm not saying that the
So,
treatment of animals in
yeah.
the past has been horrible. It's just a matter of what you classify as intelligent life. And that
Mm,
is where the debate and the issue comes
yeah.
in, because um there are animals that have intelligence that we don't understand, or intelligence that is different than humans. But the Chaka, or I mean, sorry, the Unas are literally just aliens. Like they're not any less
Yeah.
intelligent or thought
No, yeah,
capable
they're just a
than
different
humans. They're
race.
literally just like a different race. And that makes it much
Mhm.
more like
It is.
slave than
Mhm.
animal.
No, for sure, for sure,
Um,
for sure.
um,
I mean, I don't hate these people any less, regardless of the alliteration.
yeah.
Um, but
Um,
I just sometimes get angry about how animals are treated too.
oh no, for sure. I think that there's a lot of things. I'm like super pro animal and but also pro zoo, but only because I've worked in one and know the
Right.
behind the scenes stuff enough to like argue what the good that they do is. But I've also been to
Yeah.
plenty of zoos that I literally was like, if you could shut this place down, that would be
Yeah.
great.
Well, there's a difference
Um,
between Animal Kingdom and Tiger King. Like,
oh
these are
no, no,
two
no.
different
Oh,
treatments of animals.
1000%. Actually, I went to a zoo in Thailand one time as a school field trip with the kids, and I was really not happy about it. It was the worst zoo I've ever been to. And the biggest reason I was unhappy was because they knew it was bad. It had already been condemned, and the day after our field trip, it closed forever.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was not good.
Let's protect animals, guys.
Yeah.
Let's take care of animals.
Um, Also people don't have slaves.
Also take care of people and don't have slaves. Yes, that is
Yeah.
also. I feel like
Um,
that's a little more implied from
yeah, no,
us
we don't,
than
I don't think we
animals.
need to explain to you why slavery is bad.
Right. Yeah.
If we do, you're probably not our target audience.
Probably not. Maybe try a different guest.
But also, we find out that the Unas slaves on this planet are kind of fucked up because of generations of inbreeding because they only have so many. But also, that leads me to believe that the humans are also fucked up because of generations of inbreeding because there doesn't seem
Yeah.
to be that many more people than Unas. Like slightly
Right.
more, but not enough to like
No.
fix that problem.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
That is a very Alabama thing to say.
It is.
Um,
But it's okay.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean that in the term sense of anyone that we potentially know who actually lives in Alabama, just like the reputation that the state
No,
has.
we can talk about bad about Alabama. It's okay.
I
It's
don't,
football season's over, I guess, technically, but you know,
right. Right.
we're
Um,
anti-Alabama during
I
football
was just trying to
season.
think, I was like, do I know anyone in Alabama that might possibly be offended that I said everyone fucks their cousin?
No.
No,
No.
no. Um, so he's like, and sometimes because of this inbreeding, they get like really unruly and crazy, and we have to put them down. And Jack's like, did you ever think maybe they were just fucking pissed off?
Also, I'm not gonna quite say it the way I was gonna say it. Let me rephrase. Have we seen like Charles II? We had a lot of people in royalty that were really messed up from inbreeding. Like,
I
and
don't,
these people are just trying to
are
go
you
live
talking
their
about the
lives.
current king? Because that would be Charles III.
No, no, no.
Oh no.
This isn't from England. I think it's
Oh,
Spain.
oh yes. Okay, that one. I was like, are you talking about my
Mhm.
king?
No, like his face is deformed and like
Oh
he's
yeah.
like not healthy as a person.
Oh yeah.
Like, and we let him run a whole
No.
country.
Oh yeah,
These people are
no.
just
I
trying to live
mean
their lives.
the hemophiliac gene that
Mhm.
like Queen Victoria has passed down, crazy, crazy shit.
Yeah.
Um, but also this is another thing that like really made me angry because it is like quite literally like deliberately straight up part of slavery and it's like the myth of the angry black man and like sometimes they just get out
Mhm.
of control and you have to put them down. And like in
Yeah.
2024 and the uh last 5 years and the look at
Yeah.
unwarranted violence, I this whole episode just made me feel so icky. Um
Yeah.
especially when we get to the end. Like there's some things that happen later that I'm just like, because like so far everything has been gross and awful and like directly correlating to the way slavery was talked about in America, but it has all been
Hmm.
like these people are doing it and Jack and Daniel are just observing um and trying to figure out what's happening. But as we get into their interactions, that's when I
Yeah.
start to get a little
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
so Barack is taking them and he to the place where he's holding Chaka because he's like, so they are all inbred, so we had to get new blood to like fix things. And Chaka
Yep.
gets
Sure.
so excited to see Daniel that he starts talking to him.
Because they're besties. You
And
know.
Barack's like, I'm so sorry, did he just say your name?
Yes.
And Daniel's like, well, the charade's over. We're here to get him back. And Barack's like, the fuck? How dare you come into my house and try to like take my property? And um Jack is like trying to reel Daniel in because Daniel's about to just go off the deep end. And Jack's
To
like,
be
why don't
clear, I would also go off the deep end.
a
I would have
hundred
just
no no
let him go.
yes, no, for sure. But Daniel, the king of being diplomatic when there's no fucking cause for diplomacy, is about to like fight this armed man with his bare hands over an Unas. And
Yeah.
Jack's like, maybe let's not do that quite yet.
Sure.
Um,
I would
and
love to fight.
he was like, okay, like, well, let's have a discussion about what we're willing to trade to get him back. And so he's like, what is your price? And Brock says, two other equally pure Unas. And so they start to walk away. And Daniel's like, okay, so like, what is your plan? What are we going to do? And Jack says, I don't know if I'm going to do anything.
Feels
And
like this is the moment to step in.
well, and this is America in a nutshell. Because
Yeah.
he said, obviously, like, I don't think it's right. I disagree with it. I have a problem with it, but I don't know that I can do anything. And if that doesn't scream the entire North's idea of just turning a blind eye to everything that was happening in the South because they weren't
Yeah.
powerful enough or knowledgeable enough to stop slavery, I don't know what does.
But also, it's just kind of America. They like, again, don't step in, or they wait until the wrong time and then
Yeah.
step in. That is what history has proven.
Yeah.
And so there's no good answer. Let's follow Daniel, the non-military guy. Maybe he's got a
Um,
better answer.
yeah, but the problem is Daniel has better emotions, never answers. Daniel is always
No,
got his heart in the right place and never knows what to do. And so
that's how I
usually
feel lately. Maybe that's why I'm connecting with him so hard.
and usually what happens is Daniel's like, no, we have to do this. And then Sam is the middleman who like convinces Jack that Daniel's right, and then Jack uses his military knowledge to make a plan. A, we don't have Sam. B, so we don't have the like softening for Jack. We just have Daniel and Jack. And Jack's military wherewithal is saying we are not capable in this moment of stopping this.
Mhm.
So the best answer is to walk away. Because again, while I disagree, and I think it is an absolutely direct allegory to the Civil War, um, it's also 100% correct because as soon as the North did start to step in, the Civil War happened. Like that's
Sure,
how
right.
that
Like
happened.
it's not gonna go well for you immediately.
Right.
Like some bad things are gonna happen first. Allah, the next steps in this episode.
And so Daniel's like, listen, he's not an animal. Like these other Unas might have been born into, and this pissed me off because this was Daniel saying shit that like was justification
Yeah.
for slavery as well. And he was like, these other Unas might have been born into it, but Chaka's different. He knows freedom.
Literally, literally.
Yeah.
These were
Like
conversations that were had.
if you take this dialogue out
Like,
of the if you take the dialogue of this episode out of the context of an alien
mhm.
show, it's literally a historical retrospective on the Civil War. Like that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, all sci-fi is all a lot of entertainment
No,
is a comment on the
I
world.
know.
So
I know, but this one was so
so direct. Yeah.
blatant, so direct. Um, so Jack's like, okay, we're gonna pull an underground railroad and we'll secretly in the middle of the night sneak in and rescue um Chaka.
Yeah.
And Chaka is while trapped trying to talk to the other Unas and like communicate with them and teach them language. Um, Jack and Daniel get there and break Chaka out, but he won't leave the other Unas behind because he's finally like broken through to them.
Like
And
a good,
then,
good person.
yeah. But then the men of the planet attack them and Zat, all three of them, Daniel, Jack, and Chaka.
And also, can you imagine? Like, this is my complaint on every like saving moment of anything.
Yeah.
Like, you save one person that you know, and this is every movie, and then you just expect that they're going to run away. They now have relationships with all these people. If they leave, do you know
Hmm.
what kind of guilt they're going to have on top of
Uh-huh.
knowing all their friends have now died? Like, literally, it's
Right.
better if they die now, or if you
Yeah.
didn't save them, than if you
Yeah.
take them out of the situation.
100%. So
Like, you're committed to saving everyone else now, too.
they all get kidnapped and Turns out Chaka stole the radio for them so they can still communicate with Sam and Teal'c, who, by the way, have been on the planet this whole time.
Whole time. Just hanging.
They get a hold of Sam, and she and Teal'c are heading to the gate for reinforcements. Um, while meanwhile, Chaka has taught the other Unas language, and the Unas have henceforth decided that Chaka is their leader because he wouldn't leave without them. Um, and then Daniel, normally very smart Daniel, has the sudden fucking realization that just because the other Unas were born into domestication doesn't mean they don't still understand freedom. And I would like to
What
point
a
Daniel,
novel idea.
I would like to point Daniel, a linguist slash archae. Okay, sorry, I just threw my notebook because I'm so mad because I currently am taking, I'm the class that I'm currently taking in my grad school is linguistics. I'm currently taking
Right.
linguistics because teaching English. Daniel is a linguist. And Daniel has a fucking PhD in linguistics. He is a doctor of linguistics, which means that he has studied the basics of language to the point where you are going to tell me you've never read a spiritual? You've never read an African American slavery spiritual. And
Yeah.
do you know how much of the English language has evolved due to the broken English of like slave language? How are you going to be a fucking linguist and not know that?
Right.
And suddenly realize that freedom can exist in domestication. You've never
Yep.
seen a panda sit at the window of a zoo and try to get out? What the fuck, Daniel? I
Daniel, bless his heart. Bless his heart.
apologize for my temper tantrum about that. Um,
No, it's fair. It's fair.
because I'm about to have another temper tantrum. This whole episode just got me angry. Because then this Unas brings a little boy in, and the little boy is sad. This scene was 100% unnecessary, except for to fucking drive the slavery allegory home, because the little boy is like, "You hurt my dad," and Jack's like, "Yeah, I know, sorry." And the little boy's like,
Sorry, not
"Stealing
sorry.
is wrong." And then Chaka tries to communicate with the Unas who's with the little boy, and that Unas just shakes his head and walks away and wraps his arm around the little boy, which is a direct point to the fact that the house slaves fought with the field slaves about whether they should be freed or not. That scene was
Mhm.
100% unnecessary, except for to be like, by the way, if you haven't figured out that we're literally telling you everything that happened in
Yeah.
the Civil War, here it is.
Yeah.
I like paused it and I looked at Dan and I go, when you teach American history, just show this episode. When you do the Civil War, just this episode,
Yeah.
show them that is how you can teach the Civil War.
Yeah.
And Sam and Teal'c make it to the gate, but it's heavily guarded. So no luck there. Then Barack comes in and says that the punishment for their crime is death, but he's going to let them go if they tell him all the secrets of the Stargate so he can go run around the galaxy.
Yeah.
And Daniel's like, absolutely not. The Unis are people too. And Barack laughs in his face. Um, and he's like, now that I know that there's more happening out there, I will not be letting you go ever. Ha ha ha. And Jack's
This
like, yeah,
guy.
but Jack just goes, yeah, but have you ever thought that like everything that's out there kind of sucks? He's
To
like,
be
what if
fair.
he's like, what if everything that's out there is worse?
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Spoiler alert.
and then Barack tortures Jack, and all the Unas panic, and Chaka like tells them that there's danger, and all the Unas start to like break out of their cells, and Barack is like so angry that they're like trying to revolt together that he just shoots one of the Unas. And then he tries to shoot Chaka, and the gun's out of ammo. And he he's like, "Don't worry, I'll learn how to replace the ammo without you. I already learned how to shoot the gun without you. I can figure it out." And then he tells them that
To be
every
fair, it's
day.
not that hard to shoot guns.
Right.
Like they're pretty self-explanatory.
Replacing the ammo on a P90 is probably a little less self-explanatory.
Sure, yeah. But like that is his explanation is
Right.
not a good like that's not a good validation for why you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Then he tells Jack and Daniel that every day he's going to come to them at morning and night, and every time they don't tell him what he needs to know, he's going to shoot another Unas. Here's the thing. That's the worst threat I've ever heard. Because
Yeah.
A, I don't think you underestimate how much death Daniel and Jack have had to witness in their lives. Or is
Mhm.
it going to affect them and be painful for them? Yes. Are they going to give into it? Not likely.
No.
Second reason it's the worst idea. You just killed all your slaves. How is that gonna help you?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, I guess
Mhm.
that again, people are not smart.
No, no, they're not very bright. No.
No. But so then Teal'c and Sam are back in the village, and Teal'c decides that they're gonna create a diversion to get people away, and Jack gives Sam the go ahead to do that. And so Teal'c and Sam blow some stuff up to distract the villagers. And Sam gets into the barn and sets all the locks to explode. And the seven of them, Teal'c, Sam, Jack, Daniel, and the three Unas from the barn, all escape. And they find the gate abandoned. And they think it might be a trap. And Shaka is like, okay, and starts
Ooh.
walking forward. And they're like, no, Shaka, it's a trap. And he's like, I know, I got you.
He's like, great. We understand each other. We've already clarified this.
Right, we,
Like,
we
I
figured
already
this
know
out.
that. Yeah.
So then they go out, a little battle happens, some people are attacked, some weapons are dropped, blah blah blah. And then Barak tries to kill one of the young Unas, and Shaka attacks him to stop him. And then there's a moment where Shaka has the opportunity to like leave things alone and save the Unas and walk away.
Hmm.
And he chooses not to
Yeah.
and kills Barak.
But to be fair, that's like a really cute baby Otis.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. Um,
you know,
Sure. But then Daniel's like, the fuck, like you didn't have to kill him. Like, what are we gonna do? And we have to go. And Chaka's basically like, I wasn't trying to leave. I was trying to help you escape. You needed to get out of here. And they were
hmm.
like, I'm sorry, what? And he goes, we got a people to free. We got a war to fight.
Hmm.
So, and Jack's like, are we really gonna like leave them here to like kill each other and start a war? And Daniel just goes, well, we didn't give them the weapons.
That's true. And also, like, what are you gonna do? You can't force them to leave. You can't kill them.
And that is where we
So,
go full circle, all the way back to the original allegory of military interventionism and the US coming in to try to help people and ending up starting a different war,
yeah.
i.e., the Middle East.
Yeah.
Which, since this episode
Yeah.
came out in 2001, was
Great timing.
prudent. Um, so yeah, what are your thoughts, theories,
You know,
predictions?
this is an episode. Um, and I love Shaka and I love the Unis. And I think Shaka is perhaps to Daniel what Thor is to Jack, but like with a lot less power,
Right.
obviously. But like also like Daniel doesn't have a ton of power, so like it tracks.
Yeah.
Um, but that's kind of the correlation I see because he's got to have a friend outside of the military. So that's his. Better than the rest. I don't know, I think we're never gonna see him again. I think this is the end. Maybe we'll see an Unis at some point, but I don't know. We might not even see an Unis again.
Maybe.
But for sure, I think this conversation is over. I don't think this is coming back. Um, I have no idea where we're going to go from here. This did not set us up for anything. I
It
don't feel like.
didn't. No, it really
Yeah.
didn't.
So,
And
those are my thoughts and feelings.
that's okay. Um, I, yeah. So my spoiler for next week is not really a spoiler so much as a thing I need to make clear. For some reason, this episode of Stargate that is coming up, season 5, episode 8, is not available on Prime. If you are watching on Prime and you go, it will just say, like, it'll say play on season and episode 7, and it'll say play on episode 9, but episode 8 will just say this is not available. And I had seen a bunch of people online saying that episode 8 wasn't available. But they also said a couple other episodes were randomly not available that I didn't have a problem watching. So I was confused.
Mm.
And then this episode was just not available. I did check. It is still available on Pluto TV. So if you do not have a DVD for Stargate and you would like to watch along with us, it is on Pluto. It is just not on Prime. Um, I can't figure out why it is blocked. I don't remember the details of the episode. I do know that it is a direct follow-up to the episode Watergate.
Is
And
there like
that,
a fancy guest star?
no, there's not.
Because sometimes there's like licensing issues with like name and
Yeah.
likeness.
There is not, but
Oh.
there is a major character that is a Russian military member that is played by a Ukrainian actor, and that is the only thing that I can think that has any
Hmm.
bearing on it. I don't know. But I also don't want to speculate on that because I genuinely have no idea. But like I said, it's a follow-up to Watergate, which was the Russian stealing the Stargate episode. So it is a Russian military episode. And I think that that may link to it. Unfortunately, if every time a Russian military episode appeared, we lost Stargate, it would be very confusing for some things that happen later in the show. So I hope that that's not the reason. But yeah.
Interesting. Hmm.
So my spoiler is more of a warning. If you are watching primarily on Amazon, you can't.
Great. Good update. Good update.
Yeah.
I will
I was very
hopefully
confused.
remember that when I go to watch
Um,
it this weekend.
and if you don't and you text me panicked, I will remind you that it's on Pluto. Because luckily
That's
I have
excellent.
all of it on DVD and Doug has all of it on Blu-ray. So whichever house I decide to watch it at, I will have it. And but I was like, oh my God, this episode's not available. And Dan was like, well, good thing we have the videos. And I go, yes, we do. But Courtney does not. And he goes, oh. And I go, yeah, I can't ship her a DVD for the weekend.
Yeah. You could do like a video call, just hold me beside you.
Right, because that would be really good for your visual capacity
It
and
would be.
note-taking skills.
Yeah. I was
I was
just to
like,
listen really carefully.
we'll just do a live commentary of it and like like record ourselves watching it and just update everyone on scene for scene what's happening. That would be a terrible idea. But speaking of terrible ideas, who would you like to punch in the face?
Brock,
Valid.
no question.
Um, yeah. Also agree that is probably the right answer. I'm very torn on this one because I think that there's quite a few moments where people deserve punches in the face that maybe they, as a whole character arc, don't necessarily. But I'm gonna choose Chaka in the moment that he kills Barack, just because it makes him no better than Barack in that moment.
That's fair too. That's fair too.
So
Yeah.
I don't actually want to punch Chaka. I also completely understand the revolt, but like if revolution leads to revolution leads to revolution leads to
Like
revolution.
shake him a bit.
Yeah, like, but also like if we're just on a cycle of
Mhm.
revolt, 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 nothing ever gets
Resolved. Yeah.
resolved. Yeah. So that's where I feel about that.
Until we get to
Um,
Revelations. That's the end. That's Beast of Burden, bringing it all back.
we sure are. Wow.
That's what I'm here for.
Who's your MVP?
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's one of those, I'm sure. I'm probably just gonna go with Daniel. Because of his heart for Shaka, bless his heart and right or wrong choices he makes, but
Um, I'm going to go with something that doesn't make any sense because literally I did not care for anyone and their decision making in this entire episode. I'm gonna choose the man who ran toward the C4 explosion with a bucket of water. Because
mm,
everyone else that they showed trying to stop the fire was a woman, and there was one man who was like, I can also carry a bucket. And so that man will be my
I
MVP.
like it. He's a good one. Or you could have picked the baby Unis.
That's true. He didn't really do
He
anything
was
wrong.
very cute
He was
too.
very sweet. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I did
All good
not.
choices.
Yeah, those two can tie for the most
Hmm.
valuable insignificant player.
I love it. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
Perfect. Well, and with that, if you also have trouble watching the next episode, or have trouble swallowing this episode, you can always email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And with that, we will see you on Thursday for our next episode of Thriller Thursday. Bye.
Bye.